Hello, hi Cam.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, welcome to the podcast, Coffee with Ems. Thank you so much for joining. So this week we have Chauhan, who is an outsourced freelance marketing director, working with impact organisations wanting to make a difference. Welcome, Cam. If you could please tell us a bit about yourself, that would be great.
Thank you. Yeah, so I have a very different role to lots of marketing consultants and outsourced directors out there. I work with predominantly organisations that want to make a difference. So charities, non-profits, larger organisations that have got a charitable arm attached to them. But essentially what I do is go in, provide strategy, oversee their marketing activities and become sort of a mentor or trainer for people within house. And then those smaller businesses, smaller organizations, I'll go in and mentor and support the person doing the marketing activities.
Oh, amazing. No, that's great. And you talk a lot about trust as well. So when it comes to trust, how do you build trust with your audience when it comes to marketing? What would you say is best to do for that?
Well, the interesting thing is that when it comes to marketing, people don't think about trust. All they think about is they confuse marketing with sales, and all they want to do is generate more sales. And essentially, as business owners, that's what we're here to do. But marketing should be thought about as a standalone thing that sort of follows into sales. But the biggest thing within marketing is building trust. So you should have a whole aspect within marketing about trust building. How are you building trust with your audience? How are you building trust with those people that you want to work with? And what are you doing that could break that trust? So, for example, we talk about building trusts. For example, social media, we all talk about being authentic on social media, but what does authenticity mean to you in your business? And what we're doing in terms of showing up on social, are we being authentic and are we being truthful in terms of what we're saying? If you think about all those coaches out there that talk about making sort of millions of pounds within doing very little, or you've got so many businesses out there that talk about their outcomes, but there's no trust, there's no data behind what they're doing. So when we look at our marketing and our marketing activities, so everything from social media to email marketing, networking, podcasts like this, you should always be thinking about building trust and just being authentic.
So people can relate and people can trust who you are, and you're real and authentic, like you say. That is what builds that trust. So thank you. There's been obviously a big hype around AI and ChatGPT. So I just wondered from your perspective, your experience, what sort of damage perhaps this does, and what to be hesitant of.
Yeah, AI is absolutely fabulous. I'm one of those few marketers that have gone, this is great, let's see what we can do. Now, it's not going to, and I'm not, I'm saying this, and in 10 years' time, it might come and bite me, but it's not going to get rid of our jobs. It's not
No.
going to ever take over everything that we're doing. What we do need to think about is embracing it and learning how it works and making sure that we understand what we're doing with it before we jump in and start using it for our day-to-day activities. Now, ChatGPT is one of those things that if you look at the last 12 months, it's absolutely blown up. And there are so many different variations now of similar sort of things. ChatGPT is one of the tools that I use daily within my business. I also use it as a search engine now. So I no longer go and search on Google. I go over to ChatGPT because I find it gives me more of an unbiased view. But as a business owner, AI tools are fabulous to help you run your business, but you do need to be really careful about what you're doing in terms of building trust. So if you decide that you're going to use ChatGPT to help you with the social media content, and you've literally just gone in there and gone, write me, for example, we'll use your business and that write me a social media post about recruitment, tech recruitment, and it's spouted out 5 or 6 posts, you've picked it up and you've just posted. Well, first of all, that's not authentic because you haven't written that. That's not your idea. And actually, it's probably completely irrelevant to what you're talking about because every business is completely individual.
Mm.
What you need to do is if you are using things like ChatGPT and other AI tools, is think about the input, what you're putting in. So using the example of social media posts again, what you can do is go in there, talk about your ideal client and your ideal audience, and ask it to suggest some social media content ideas. And then you can take those
Okay.
content ideas away, and then you can start writing. The other way of doing it is starting with the actual piece of content that you've written, then put it back in and ask it for a sense check. Use it for your spelling, use it for your grammar, use it to, it can rearrange a little bit for you, but essentially it's your words. And when it comes out, if it doesn't sound like you're going to break the trust of the audience that are
Yeah.
following you. So
Yeah, yeah.
you've got to make sure that everything that you're putting out there, whether that's social media, email marketing, website, anything, if it doesn't sound like your brand voice, don't put it out there.
If it doesn't sound like you've written it, your voice, like you say, it's not authentic. It's written by someone else. It's written by, chatbot, ChatGPT. So, yeah.
Definitely. And I
Okay,
think
no, that's really interesting. Thank you. Yeah.
just one more thing
Mm.
on that part though, with
Mm.
businesses, thinking about larger organizations, if you're a large business and you outsource your marketing for your actual business, and you've got the brand messages and brand values going on, this is brilliant because essentially you need to be showing up as that brand. But then if you're over on LinkedIn and you're on your own personal profile, you still need to be aware of your brand values, your mission, your organization before you're posting anything, to ensure that you are setting the right tone of voice and you're not saying anything or doing anything that contradicts the business that you work for. Um,
Mm. It
but then the
matches up.
CEO, yeah, and it matches up. And the CEO, the director, sometimes when they're posting on LinkedIn, again, you can use ChatGPT for things like that, but it's got to be your voice. If they're going to meet you in the street or in a cafe or even walk through the door, they need to know. They need to know who you are, not the business page, but you.
Mm. No, that's really helpful. Thank you. No, that's great. So the next question leads on to that in terms of like how to make it sound like it's you. How to make it authentic. I mean, you touched on this already, but is there anything else that can be done to make sure it absolutely sounds like you?
Yeah, of course. There's lots of things. So the first thing to be really clear on is your brand voice, your values,
Mm.
and a real understanding of who your ideal clients are and the type of people that you're speaking to. The easiest way of doing this is just to have a brand document. Make sure that you've got some sort of brand document with everything outlined. And then when you are using AI tools to help you with your content or with your any form of your marketing, make sure that you're always inputting that information. Because like with anything in life, the more you put in, the more you'll get out. The more relevant information will give you the information you need. So it's all about prompt engineering, making sure that everything that you're putting in there is authentic and you're training it. You've got to train it to sound like you. And the more information you put in, the better output you'll get.
So you'll prompt it to be more specific to make it more sort of tailor-made to, how you want it to sound, or make it sound more like this or more like
Yeah,
that, or to this kind of audience. So you got to tweak it. Yeah.
exactly. And the one thing
Mm.
that is quite interesting because I do a lot of training on this with small business owners, but the one thing that's really interesting is when I point out how you can tell whether a social media post or an email is written by ChatGPT. And once I point it out, it's really obvious and it's really difficult to then see past it when you see it coming up. So, for example, if you're an organization or you as a person you don't use emojis or you use one or two emojis in your brand, don't then start using all the emojis that ChatGPT is spouting out.
Yeah.
You delete them. Um,
Mm.
the rocket one is everywhere.
Rocket one, yeah,
Yeah.
always there, isn't it?
And the
On
words
the meme.
ignite and elevate come up constantly. So if they're not already words that you use,
Nice.
get rid of them.
Top notch.
Yes.
That's a good one. I'll notice that, and they put a lot of stars in there as well, don't they? So I'd use try and take all the like stars out because it just looks like whoa, yeah. And then anyone else that uses ChatGPT will be able to tell straight away,
Yeah.
that it's not you, it's not real. Okay, thank you. So, are there any strategies that can be used to build trust? So, when you work with your clients, sort of any sort of advice that you give them around sort of the strategy piece on that on building the trust.
Yeah. So again, it
Mm.
depends on the size of the organization. If you're a large organization and you've got more than 10 employees, I would instantly go, right, you're building trust as an organization. What you want to do is get your employees on board. So by
Mm,
doing that, let's create a strategy around employee engagement marketing, what we can do to help your employees do two things really. First of all, what we can do is teach them how to use marketing to market themselves. Because essentially, when they come up for promotion, they want to be sticking their head up against a parapet. Or when they're ready
mm,
to move on, they don't have to then go and update their CV because people already know they exist. And then for you as an organization, if you've got your employees talking about the wonderful work they're doing, the projects they're working with, the clients they're working with, actually, who's better to trust than the people behind the doors? It's better to
mm,
hear from the people that work with the organization than it does for the person that's paid for your results. So that's one aspect that I always look at with larger organizations. It's let's have a look at employee engagement marketing. But if
mm,
you're a small or a micro business, it's if you're the person that's turning up at networking events, or you're the person turning up on stage to speak, or you're the person that's doing the sales calls, it's all about you as an individual. People will only trust the person. It's not about the organization, because essentially we all do the same thing. There are hundreds and
mm,
hundreds and thousands of businesses that do exactly what we do. So there's lots of other tech recruits, there's lots of other outsourced marketing directors. But
mm,
what you want to do is make sure that you stand out above the rest, because it's you that they're buying and you that they're trusting, not
mm.
the industry, because they already know that they need what you're offering them. So
I remember you saying that now when we met for a coffee, was it a few weeks ago in Milton Keynes, and you said it's all about the people, and actually people they'll be choosing to work with you, and it's quite being a consultant, obviously we're both consultants, it's quite a personal choice, isn't it, as to who you choose to work with. So getting across yourself and who you are allows people to choose, to work with you.
and you'll find, and I think
Mm,
that's the reason there's so many non-competes in contracts when people are employed, because actually, when you've built up that relationship with that person, they want, and if you go off to work for a competitor, they're going to want to go with you because you're their point of call. So,
mm,
as a business, what you need to be thinking about is just having that account manager, that person there is great. But
mm,
actually, if that person leaves, what's in place to make sure that they don't go with them? And you have a 6 month or 2 year, whatever non compete is, but eventually that person will disappear because that's the
mm,
person that relationship's with. So, it's thinking about those sort of strategies. It's thinking about what makes your business the go-to for it. Now, what are you thinking about in terms of what you're known for? Are you known for being the cheapest? Are you known for being the quickest? Are you known for being giving the most value for money? What is it? Whatever you want to be known for, and you need to build trust within that. So, for example, if you are saying that you are the cheapest within the industry, don't play tactics where the price goes down because somebody's come back to you and said, "Oh, actually, so and so is doing it cheaper," because you should know what people are charging.
mm,
So thinking about all these things, and the interesting conversation I had with my husband over the bank holiday weekend, that we went shopping for some camping gear, and I was sold by the 25% off. Well, it means nothing
yeah.
because it wasn't 25, there was nothing. It was like one or
Oh,
two items in store were 50% off. And actually, if I looked at the price of what I ended up paying, it was like £1 cheaper than if I'd bought it the day before. It was
oh,
ridiculous.
really? Not much
Yeah,
in it at all. It just lures you in, sort of thing, doesn't it? Is it
exactly.
real? Yeah. Are you actually getting a saving, or that's your
Yeah.
thing? It's got to be. You've got to be able to provide that. Yeah.
And it's a trust. It comes down to trust, because what
Mm,
that's made me walk away and thought of, oh, I need a lot more stuff, but I'm no longer in a hurry to go to you and buy it, because actually I know the information you're giving me isn't correct.
yeah, yeah. Isn't you've lost the trust there
Yeah.
from. Yeah, I see. Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So, what about lead magnets? Could you explain what lead magnets are and what sort of ideas people have for these kind of things?
Yeah.
That'd
So
be great.
when you talk to lots of business owners, when I talk about where their audience are, they'll talk about social media. They're on LinkedIn. I've got so many contacts on LinkedIn, or I've got so many
Mm.
contacts on Facebook. Um, and then I mention email marketing, and then they'll stare at me blankly. What's that? So what I would suggest is always, always, always try and get your followers, whether they're podcast people, whether they are on social media, get them onto an email list, because you own that list. Everything else is owned by the platform that it sits on. So the easiest way to do that is by using a lead magnet. And a lead magnet is also a fabulous way of building trust, because what you're essentially doing is you're giving people a taster of what it is that you're offering them. So a lead magnet often is thinking about your ideal client and the people you want to work with. What information can you give them? If they were going to jump on a call with you, what would you tell them? And that's the information you put into a lead magnet.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
for example, if you go to my website, my lead magnet on that I promote on my website is all about social media content for charities and non-profits, because that's their first stumbling block. Quite often they're like, oh, we don't know what to post on social media. There's lead magnet, go and sign up. On that, there's a guide. It basically gives you content ideas, it gives you copy. You could just go away and done it. And what that does, it gives them a taster of what it's like to work with me. But what you've also got to think about when you're creating lead magnets is different aspects in terms of what are, you can have lots of different lead magnets for different things. So, as I said, I've got the one on my website. I did a talk a little while ago about ChatGPT and AI, and that was for social enterprises. And off the back of that, there was a list of prompts that you can use for social enterprises. So, thinking about your ideal clients and what they're looking for, think about what it is that they would pay you for, or just information that you would give them for free. Because what you've also got to remember is we live in a digital world, especially with ChatGPT now, it's taking it to a whole other level. Why should they come to you when they can get it for free? Will you give them something for
You
free?
may as well be giving it for free, that information that they'll want to read. And then you say on the back of that, you'll be creating more of a sort of marketing campaign. You'll have their email, their contact details, so that you can continue to contact them and remind them where you are, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's what it is, because when it comes to someone will need your services at some point. So, for example, in terms of what you're doing, tech recruits, at some point, someone is going to need some technical support. They might not need it now, they might not need it next year, but they might need it in 2 years' time. And in 2 years' time, they're going to forget who you are unless you've kept them warm. And it's not just through social media, it's going into their inbox. They've given you permission to email them. Send them regular emails to make sure that you're at the forefront of their mind. Send them information to help them, send them antidotes, send them tips, send just anything that you think that they would find useful. Send them weekly emails. And then by the time they're at the point where they're ready to purchase your service or they need your service, they'll go, oh, actually, I know, because you're at the forefront of their mind. It also helps.
They'll remember you.
Yeah, and it helps with referrals. So if they're having a conversation about, I don't know, again, it could be in the pub somewhere, they could be having a business meeting, and somebody needs your services. If you're at the forefront of their mind, they will refer you.
Well, that's interesting, yeah. And I guess within the sector that you're working in, it's really important for the charitable sector, to have that marketing element so they can get that, investment and donations and people that want to get involved with, supporting the charities. Without that, they wouldn't exist, would they, if they weren't getting that?
No, and prime example is I know so many people at the moment, they're getting locked out of their social media accounts, and it's happening more and more. Off the back of that, they're suddenly going, we're starting from scratch. We shouldn't have to start from scratch, because you should have that list of people somewhere else. And in terms of an organisation, it doesn't matter how big you are, whether you are just one person and, I don't know, you're selling handmade blankets, for example, or whether you are a multi-million pound business. You should have email lists. You should be holding that data, and you should
Yourself.
be, you should be able to use that one, because that belongs to you. That email address belongs to you, and that person has trusted you enough to put in their details for you to email them. What I would say with that, though, is be really mindful about the emails that you send them, because if all you're doing is, as a charity, you're sending them emails saying, we've got this event, we've got this event, we've got this event, donate, 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 they're going to get fed up. As a business, if you're saying, buy my product, buy my product, buy my product, they're going to get fed up. You need to have a strategy.
So more indirect, not always like sell, sell, sell. It's like
Yeah,
that, just a touch, isn't it, to remind them where you are, but not like, yeah, overkill.
yeah.
No, that's good. Thank you. That's great. Okay, and then I wondered a little bit about sort of any sort of automation tools. So you've got email marketing. Are there automation tools that can make it a lot easier to do this automatically? And certain ones maybe that you'd recommend. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on automation?
So, literally, AI, like I said, AI is brilliant because we've now got tools for
Mm,
absolutely everything. Social media has got tools that can schedule posts. You can comment off the back of these, and it gives you the
mm,
analytics off the back. Email marketing, exactly the same. I use MailerLite, and purely because I started it when I started my business. At the time, I was on the free plan, and in terms of value of money, if you are a new business or your email subscriber list isn't huge, it's a great one to start off with, and it's very intuitive. It's a drag and drop. Um,
mm.
but there are so many email marketing tools out there. You've got HubSpot, you've got um, not Agorapulse, the monkey one. I can't think what it's called.
Oh, MailChimp. Is it the
MailChimp, that's
MailChimp
one, the
one?
monkey one.
The monkey one.
The monkey one. There's so many out there, and essentially they all pretty much do the same thing. It's
Mm,
just cost-wise and in terms of the different how many people you need to help manage it and all the different tools, which ones you need. But these tools are fabulous because what you can do is you can sit down and you can bulk write your content and your emails, and you can essentially go and schedule them for the next 6 months. They're ready to go out there.
amazing.
And there's lots
Yeah,
of
yeah.
tools. So it's always testing as well. There's tools that help you test to see which emails would work better. It's fabulous in terms of what it does. So I would always
Mm.
say, as a business owner, whether you're new or whether you've been going for years, get yourself an email marketing platform and get people onto an email list.
Email list and automate things, make it,
Yeah.
yeah, efficient. Great stuff. What are your thoughts on sort of data breaching, and what to be conscious of when it comes to making sure that you're allowed to email certain people? What do they need to be signing? What's what with data breaching when it comes to marketing?
So a few years ago, I was at a networking event and I was speaking to someone there, and
Mm.
they told me that they took everyone's details. So you've given them a business card, and all the details of this business card go into their software and they email you. An alarm bell started going at that moment. And then in further conversations, they told me that they just took email addresses off LinkedIn. That's a breach of GDPR.
Mm.
GDPR is there for a reason. Every business that holds data, so anyone that's got an email marketing list or holds information anywhere, should be registered with the ICO. It's not expensive. Just go and Google them. It's quick though. There's literally a 2-minute quiz that tells you how much you need to pay, and you can do it yearly. It's easy,
Mm.
but you do need to make sure you're following the rules. People need to give you their permission to hold their data. They need to give you their permission to email them. So don't think by somebody handing you their business card, they are giving you permission to put them into your email marketing. They're not doing that. The
Mm.
amount of times you go to networking events, and you probably come across it yourself, and I'm sure lots of people watching this will say the same thing, that you get a lead sheet with all everyone's contact details. And then off the back of that, suddenly you'll sign up to this email marketing list that you didn't even know that existed. You need to
Mm.
unsubscribe, you need to report it. And as a business owner, you need to be mindful of it because all you're going to do is annoy people, and they're
Yeah,
talking to
I've
other
not signed up
people.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So how would you do it? Would you have to sort of email them initially to ask them if they're happy to be on the mailing list? So it wouldn't be
yeah,
like straight away on the mailing list, but an initial email to ask permission.
yeah. So what you can do is the initial email. So it's if you've got someone that signed up to a lead magnet, it's very different because at the bottom of that, you should have a disclaimer on there saying that um, your email, you're going into a list. And actually, what you'll have from the emails that are coming through, there should always be an unsubscribe button on there, and
Yeah.
always have an unsubscribe button. If you've met someone and they've given you a business card, or you've met them through networking, or you've come across someone you thought actually they might be interested, ask them. Pop them an email, say to them, and
Yeah.
pop them an email from your email address, not from an email marketing
Yeah,
platform.
from, like, your personal, so it's
Yeah.
more
And just have a conversation with them and say, "Oh, look, I've got
Mm,
this email this. I'm wondering whether you're interested." Or send them the lead magnet. Send them the link for the lead magnet and say,
mm,
"Would you be interested in this?" But always ask their permission. Don't just put it on there. And actually,
mm.
most people will sit there and say, "Yeah, okay, you know what? To be interested to see what's going on," and they
And
might
appreciate that, won't
unsubscribe.
they, as well, that
Yeah,
they've been asked as well, so that it's, it's polite, isn't it? It's like, the polite thing to do, isn't it, as well now, because it is such a big thing, and people are more aware of, that they have their rights, that they don't have to be on certain, mailing groups, so it's, more and more important that people are asking the permission now because everyone's aware that you need it.
yeah. Well, you say that there are still
Mm.
lots of people that don't. So, as a
Okay.
business, you need to
Yeah.
make sure that you do.
As business owners, we must make sure there's all
Yeah.
yeah, okay, that's great, thank you. And there's surveys out there, isn't there? Because obviously, to get surveys and get feedback, would you say that that's quite a good tool to use for building trust?
Yeah, because actually,
Mm,
what you should be doing is there's two different times you should be doing a survey. Well, I say three. So whenever I work with a client, they
mm,
start or we're looking at training. It depends on the type of business we're doing. But for example, for offering training, I'll do a survey at the beginning to understand their needs,
mm,
understand their skills. We'll do a survey halfway through as we're going through the process, and then there's a survey at the end saying how did you get on. And what I do from that is the middle one in the middle gives me a chance to tailor what I'm doing with them and gives them an opportunity to give me feedback in terms of, oh, actually, I haven't covered this, or I'd be interested in this. Because sometimes when you are in the midst of it, it's difficult to look at it from the outside in.
mm,
Um, but that's when I'm working with a client. But surveys are great to inform you of what people think of you and your
mm,
messaging and all aspects. So you've got lots of different forms. You've got things like SurveyMonkey, you've got Google Forms, you've got tools that you don't need to pay for, you've got more expensive ones that you can build out.
mm,
But they are great. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve. Do you want people are more honest if they don't have to give their
anonymous?
contact details. Yeah, if it's anonymous, they don't have to give their contact
Mm,
details or say they are. They'll be a lot more honest
mm,
because actually what they're trying to do, it's just the way they are. Unless they're really, really happy, then they're going to be shouting about it from the rooftops. But what I would always suggest is go and do a survey once a year, once every. It, again, depends on the projects and things you're looking at, but make sure you're doing it regularly. Have a
mm,
look at the information that's coming in and use that to inform your next steps. Is your business going in the right direction? Are you giving the messaging that you thought you were giving? Is it hitting the right people? What are people's thoughts and perceptions of you? And actually, that is a great tool to help you understand what people's perceptions of you as a business are.
mm.
And it's,
'Cause
and
without
it's
that, you're just guessing otherwise, aren't you, I guess?
yeah,
You're not knowing the truth as to what people actually think on how you could actually improve.
exactly. And often when
Mm,
you've got like a new business idea or you've got a new service or a product coming out, that's another great way. Just send them a survey and ask their opinions. What do you
mm,
think of this? We've got this coming up. How much would you pay for it? What would you do? Um, understand what people want before you go
mm.
and offering them this thing that they didn't know that they wanted, and they don't actually want it. They don't need it.
No, yeah, yeah. No, that's great. Thank you. Good stuff. Okay, so data utilization. You talked about obviously like the employee engagement, and that's a really good way to start to get businesses all involved with, doing marketing for the business, being authentic. Is there any advice that you could give for businesses to best market themselves as a employer of choice? That brand piece.
Yeah, definitely. So ideally, before you're at the point where you want to employ somebody, you need to have this setup of you are the place that people want to go, whatever industry that you're in or whatever role you're trying to recruit for. You want people to want to come and work for you before you've even got that vacancy. And to
Mm,
do that, that's all through your marketing. So employee engagement marketing is one way, and that's something I offer training in with businesses. But the other
mm,
aspect of it is also you as an individual, you as the CEO, you as a line manager or the leader of a department. What are you saying on your social media? What are people saying about you? And actually, as a cult, as a organization, what's the culture? Because we're
Mm.
now moving from this whole working from home to go being back in the office. Well, what's the purpose of it? If you're in the office and all you're doing is you're jumping on meetings with people constantly, is it productive?
Mm.
Or are you still okay with people working from home and coming in for the social aspect? So it's this whole thing of going, what sort of organization do you want to be known as? Do you want to be known as flexible working? And actually, what does flexible working mean for you, not for somebody else? And these are all things having a think about and actually making it very, very clear before
Mm.
you get to the point where you are at recruitment stage. What sort of organization are we? What sort of ethos
Culture,
do
is
we
it?
hold? Yeah,
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, you say making it clear. It's almost like making it really obvious, like you say, as to what it's like to work there. And sometimes people don't state the obvious, do they? And I don't think that they need to. But how are people going to know otherwise if there is, like you say, the ability to work from home, or if there is those, social events, if there isn't visible to see
yeah.
that there is.
You see
Mm.
lots of, and you probably come across these quite a lot, but people talk about, oh, it's a hybrid role, but I want you in the office 2 days a week. Well, what's the purpose of being in the office 2 days a week? Make it
Mm.
clear.
Yeah,
So,
why? People
yeah,
would probably bought into it more as to why they need to be there. Yeah.
exactly.
Mm.
And actually, on LinkedIn, go off and post it that today we've got the team in the office. This is what we're doing. Normally they work from home, but on this occasion they're here because we're doing X, Y, and Z. Because it's not just a case of I want you in the office because I've said so. It's a purpose behind it.
Yeah, I hear that a lot actually. People do say to me, I'm happy to work in an office and work hybrid, but only if I really need to, and if there's a real purpose for me to be there. And there's one position open at the moment, and they have a bar at the office.
Brilliant.
So when they are all in, they do make sure at the end of the day, end of the week, that they actually make use of this bar, and they have like drinks and gets together. So that sort of thing is quite a highlight, isn't it, to
I need to
make
work
sure people
there.
know about. Yes, yeah, we'll be there. Yeah. Good stuff. Okay, thank you. And you've got a speaking event coming up. I wondered if you could share a little bit more about this speaking event that is online, I think, isn't it?
Yep. So it's Analytics Day 2024 on the 11th of June, and I'm speaking at an event. What I will do is I can, if I send Emma the link, maybe you can just post it
Mm.
alongside this. Um,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, and for that one, I'm going to be talking about KPIs that business owners should be monitoring because it becomes this whole whirlwind of what we should know, what we shouldn't know, and we start analysing things that we don't need to be doing for our businesses. Um,
Mm.
but it's a great lineup with some fabulous speakers. Spider Working, I think, is organising it. So yeah, definitely worth coming along to.
Amazing. Yeah, I'll look out for that. That sounds really, really good. Amazing. So yeah, I mean, to wrap up the podcast, if anyone is interested, any businesses are interested in speaking with Cam, and Cam is a freelance marketing consultant, please do reach out to Cam directly if you'd like to speak with her a bit further. How do people get in contact with you, Cam? Just to share your contact
Yeah.
details.
So on my website is Chauhan, CHAUHAN.co.uk. I'm over on LinkedIn. That's where I hang out most of the time. Feel free to come and send me a message on there. I respond pretty quickly. But you'll find me just under my name on Instagram. Facebook, I'm not as prominent on, but yeah, LinkedIn is my special place.
LinkedIn's your favourite. Yeah, yeah, me too. Amazing. Oh, thank you so much for joining the podcast, and hopefully see you soon in Milton Keynes. Yeah, great to see
Great.
you
Thank
again
you for having
soon.
me.
You're welcome. Speak soon. Thank you. Okay, bye. Bye-bye.